We have some massive updates on Jimmy Butler and the situation going on between him and the Miami Heat. I'm going to break down all of the new information that we have on this episode of Heat Digest, so let's not waste any time and get right to it. Now, Jimmy Butler has, over the span of this season, specifically the last 2 weeks, things have really picked up. Now, obviously, we've broken down recent ideas and quotes and information from credible source after credible source saying that obviously Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat have not really found a way to make this work, and it seems like they're going to really observe their options and look for a possible trade candidate for Jimmy Butler, the multiple time All-Star for the Miami Heat. But there's been things going on. So the first thing is the fact that Shams went on NBA Today just yesterday saying this. They have some productive conversations on a potential Jimmy Butler trade this week per Shams. Now, this is substantial because Shams goes on to elaborate in this quote and mention that not only one, but possibly a 2, 3, or 4-team trade would be involved to get Jimmy Butler out of Miami and really get a trade going. The only problem is we don't know what teams are going to be in the mix now because obviously 2 weeks ago, like we mentioned, one of those reports that we did break down, teams were being told not to be involved with Jimmy Butler. Hey, don't even try. You see what's going on in Miami? Well, guess what? If you trade for Jimmy Butler and he lands here, you're going to get the same thing because he doesn't want to play for this organization. He's hell-bent on playing for either the Phoenix Suns or a hometown team, in the sense of a team from the Texas area. That we all know, Jimmy was born and raised in Texas. Obviously, if he was able to go back and play for the Rockets, the Mavericks, the Spurs, that would be very nice for him to be able to go back home and then finish his career out, again, back at home. But it seems like the Phoenix Suns are going to do everything in their power to be very much involved in a possible acquiring of Jimmy Butler. And the reason I'm bringing that up, not only because of what we know in the past, as well as this quote from Brian Windhorst. Again, shout out to Drew_Star on Twitter, who goes on to quote Windhorst, who went on to say, since Jimmy had his meeting with Mickey Arison on Thursday, there is no doubt an uptick in discussions around Butler. The Heat shifted into a new gear after that meeting. And again, that is a quote from a very, very reliable source in Brian Windhorst, saying that after the meeting that Jimmy Butler had with Mickey Arison, one of the part owners of this Miami Heat team, as well as Nick Arison, that things simply are not going to work. Obviously, Shams, the quote that we mentioned earlier, goes on to elaborate about this as well, saying that Jimmy Butler not has only doubled down, but has now tripled down. He has obviously mentioned it before. Then he met with Pat Riley, where he reiterated the fact that this isn't going to work. I want to be out of here. But then again, meeting with Mickey Arison, again, something that we've heard from Brian Windhorst as well as others, saying he tripled down going into that meeting. And again, the message did not change from Jimmy Butler. The idea is still the same. He wants out of Miami, and it is not going to work in Miami as long as he is there because, well, he's not going to work in Miami. But now we have even more information that just happened just 15, 20 minutes ago in the association. Shout out to Shams as well as others who did put out this tweet and information saying the Phoenix Suns are trading their 2031 unprotected first to the Utah Jazz for 3 first-round picks, sources tell ESPN. The Suns are acquiring the least favorable first in 2025 of Cleveland/Minnesota, 2027 of Cleveland/Minnesota/Utah, and 2029 of Cleveland/Minnesota/Utah. So, what is going on? Well, the Suns have moved their unprotected first-round picks in exchange for other first-round picks. It seems like they're reloading in the sense of draft capital to be able to make a drastic trade, obviously, most likely, we're going to assume, for the All-Star Jimmy Butler. Now, this literally happened 25 minutes ago. I had a video already going out on the YouTube channel, and then this news dropped. And this is really substantial. The reason being is because it seems like the Suns are going to be one of those teams that are going to move the mountains required in order to get the multiple-time All-Star Jimmy Butler. Now, Butler and the Miami Heat currently are walking out onto the floor, or just did about 15 to 20 minutes ago in Miami to play a game against the Portland Trailblazers, and this is substantial because it seems like this might be the last game for Jimmy Butler. Now, this video is going to be out on January 21st at night. There's a good chance that he's gone by the 22nd or even the 23rd of January. And the reason I say that is because the trade deadline is February 6th. That is quickly approaching. You're going to blink, you're going to wake up one morning, and it's going to already be February 5th. going on to February 6th. And again, the Miami Heat cannot have Jimmy Butler on their roster by the time that date comes, because they will then be put in even worse of a situation with just one day, if not just a few days remaining before that NBA trade deadline. And they're put in a situation where, again, their backs are against the wall, even more so than they currently are. And they would have to then move Jimmy Butler for whatever possible trade option they have left. Because, again, if Jimmy Butler is on this Miami Heat team after the February 6th NBA trade deadline, no one is going to win in that situation. Jimmy Butler does not want to be a part of this Miami Heat team. And as Jimmy Butler currently sits, the Miami Heat most likely, and I'm assuming here, do not want Jimmy Butler a part of their team. If he's going to continue to be the character and the person he is for this Miami Heat team, he's not very productive. We look at the numbers. Obviously, that game against New Orleans, the game before the Indiana performance, where the 7-game suspension then came about after that performance. Back-to-back 9-point games, 4 assists and 2 rebounds in that game against Indiana in 27 minutes. Not the performance we are accustomed to seeing from someone of the likes of Jimmy Butler. I know this year has not been very good and very productive overall for Butler, but again, for someone who has the reputation of Butler, whether it be the regular season or the postseason, these are not the numbers we are looking for. He is not going to be a significant piece or a substantial piece on this Heat team doing things like this. Then obviously he comes back after the 7-game suspension against the Denver Nuggets, where he puts up 18, 3, and 2 in 33 minutes of action. Again, we lost that game by 20. The energy, the effort, the emotion of Jimmy Butler is not there for this Miami Heat team, and it really is looking like things are really starting to pick up, and he's on the way out of Miami. Now, that final game that he's played in against the San Antonio Spurs, 8 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 blocks in 28 minutes in a 128-107 win over the Spurs. Obviously, Kellman was the biggest piece to the Miami Heat for that game. We discussed that in the last Heat Digest video, breaking down how good Kellman could be going forward for this Miami Heat team. But again, it seems like that is going to take place without All-Star Jimmy Butler, as, again, Phoenix seems like the team that is moving mountains in order to go out and get the multiple-time All-Star from the Miami Heat. It's going to be fun to see how this ends up playing out and ramping up as time goes on. I would not be surprised if by the 23rd or the 24th at the latest, we see a move involving Jimmy Butler and multiple teams in the association, whether it be the Milwaukee Bucks, the Phoenix Suns, as well as others, in order to get Jimmy Butler out of Miami and to Phoenix. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see how it plays out, and I'll bring you all the updates on this channel of Heat Digest. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.